proud because before I started this job right here, I was homeless. I used to sleep under the bridge, and most of the streets that I'm cleaning up now, that's the streets that I used to sleep on. I'm thankful that they gave me opportunity. You know, it's changed my life tremendously. Like I said, I was homeless. You know, now I'm in the process of looking for a house to buy. Through this program, you know, I came over my addiction. Man, I'm so thankful. You know, I thank the staff at Good Souls for giving me the opportunity, man. They helped me out tremendously. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the Good Souls staff and the city of Orlando. The most rewarding part of this job is getting up every day and trying to keep Orlando beautiful. You know, doing my part and making sure the community and the residents are happy with their areas are getting cleaned up, the streets are getting cleaned up.
All right, welcome to the December 9th, 2019 meeting of the Orlando City Council. We're going to begin with the invocation today, and that invocation will be offered by Senior Pastor Andy McDonald of Florida Hospital Church. Pastor McDonald was born in Atlanta. He received his Doctor of Ministry and Master's of Divinity from Andrews University and a Bachelor's of Theology from Southern Adventist University. After serving as youth pastor at Florida Hospital for 10 months, he became the senior pastor of Florida Hospital Church in Orlando in 1985. He's been married to his wife, Vicki, for 41 years, to the proud parents of a daughter, son, and grandparents of 3 grandchildren. He loves the beach and any excuse to be outside, and it's a really nice day to be outside today. Pastor McDonald is a member of the College Park Rotary Club Commissioner and is committed to the ideal of service over self. The invocation will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Christopher Wallace, Parks Manager. Chris served in the United States Navy for 21 years, served on 3 different U.S. Navy ships, and visited 29 different countries, including Navy air stations in Bermuda and Monaco. During his career, he got to meet and escort the Prince and Princess of Monaco, First Lady Nancy Reagan, Vice President Dan Quayle. He has received the Navy Commendation Medal, Navy Achievement Medal, Desert Shield, Desert Storm, and Kuwait Liberation Medals. You may stand or remain seated.
For focused leaders in a world where many walk as sheep with no shepherds, For food in a world where many walk in hunger. For freedom in a world where many walk in shame. For faith in a world where many walk in fear. For forgiveness in a world where many walk with guilt. And for friends in a world where many walk alone, we give thanks. And now, with hearts filled with gratitude, we seek to do good work. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll and make a determination of a quorum, please?
Commissioner Gray.
Here.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Here.
Commissioner Stewart.
Here.
Commissioner Sheehan. Here. Commissioner Hill.
Here.
Commissioner Ings. Here. Mayor Dyer.
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum with all members present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. First item of business is consideration of minutes from the agenda review and city council meetings of November 11th. Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Stewart. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Okay, right into awards presentation and recognitions. I want to call on Commissioner Hill to provide some background on our partnership with Fairwinds Credit Union and Blueprint 2.0.
Thank you, Mayor. Of course, you know, here a few cycles ago, council approved for us to receive $100,000 to start the Blueprint Training Program 2.0. And with that, we realized that it was one thing to give folks skill sets and jobs, but we wanted to make sure that they could be fiscally responsible with their earnings and have a proper budget put in place and budget planning. So with that, Fairwinds decided that they were going to donate some funds to our Blueprint 2.0 with conjunction of the Urban League. So today they will be presenting a check to the Urban League to accomplish those things of empowering the people throughout the city of Orlando and also focus with the residents of Paramore. So Mayor, if yourself and myself will come up
Okay.
and do the presentation. I think, will you be speaking? Yes.
Come on.
Do I come here?
Yes.
Where's the mic? Is this the mic? Oh, that's fancy. Really fancy. All right. Well, on behalf of the Board of Directors of the Central Florida Urban League, we want to thank the Mayor and also Commissioner Hill for your leadership in creating Blueprint 2.0. There's also some individuals that we would like to thank as well. Mr. Gennaro and his staff in the MBE division, our partners over at CareerSource and Valencia College. We couldn't have done this work without you. And then why we're here. And we want to say thank you to both Mr. Larry Tobin, who is the president and CEO of Fairwinds, and also Ms. Aisha Gonzalez, who is the executive director of the foundation. And what we realized is, well, let me take a step back. Mr. Mayor, during your State of the City address, you asked everyone to close their eyes and imagine a world where we can alleviate barriers from access to job opportunities and creation. So with the help of our partners at Fairwinds, we were able to do that. And we also have a handful of students who received the very first stipend training subsidy. I think Mr. Israel, who's here, his story is that he's actually utilizing the dollars to help cover the cost of transportation to get from class. On top of, he's studying computer, what is it called? It's something really fancy, which pays a lot of money, computer numerical control machinery. Again, super high-tech stuff. And we're very fortunate for him. We're very fortunate for him, and then also the other 25 students who are currently in queue. We're just waiting for some additional information, and then they will receive their subsidy by this Friday. So again, we just want to say thank you both to the City of Orlando and also Fairwinds, because Fairwinds partnership will allow us to provide the financial literacy. So as you earn, as you learn, you earn, and we're very grateful for that. So with that said, that concludes my presentation, and if you guys can come down.
And Council, if you can stand back, because you all were very instrumental in helping put this certificate program together, and I thank you for your support.
Stand up next to Mrs. Christmas.
And just one last thing I want to share. As you know, Mr. Mayor and Commissioner, without a good team, nothing happens. So I also want to just thank my team, my board, my staff that are over there with their outreach, and then also the help of Commissioner Hill's outreach effort is what's driving. We average around 100 calls a day asking about Blueprint.
Great.
The challenge is there's a lot of people calling from outside the city. So we gotta figure that out on our end. But thank you again, and God bless the both of you.
Okay, I want to call on our Code Enforcement Division Manager, Corey Keith, for a retirement ceremony.
Years of service. Norma was born in Bronx, New York, and she moved to Orlando in 1975. She is a graduate of Colonial High School. Norma began working for the city of Orlando under Mayor Bill Frederick in 1983 as a permit tech in the zoning department. She then became the city's first female and first Hispanic zoning inspector in 1985. This position was later changed to a code enforcement officer. She held this position for over 21 years before becoming a code enforcement supervisor. Norma has worked in every neighborhood in the city of Orlando. She created and supervised the city's first multifamily inspection team, and for the last 5 years, Norma has assisted Commissioner Ortiz's Government Academy. Throughout her career, she has mentored and trained numerous inspectors. She has been a valuable and dedicated employee to the city for the last 36 years. Our division has never known a code enforcement without Norma Santana. She is loved and respected by her peers and co-workers. Many of them are here today to wish her well. Mayor Dyer and Commissioners, it is my privilege to present Norma Santana.
I am so overwhelmed. The love that I'm feeling right now. As you can tell, this has been my family for the last 36 years. I want to thank everybody who made it possible for me to get to this level that I am today. I'm taking a new detour with my family while I still can. I just want to say thank you to all that been by me, protected me, guided me, and just totally loved me. I'm going to miss so many people in so many different ways, but know that you'll always be in my heart. I love you guys so much, and thank you.
You want your family members? Yeah.
Mayor, as a point of privilege, I totally oppose the city granting her permission to retire.
Okay, how about we go right into the mayor's update. I want to wish everybody a joyous holiday season and a happy new year. This is our last council meeting, not only of the year, but of the decade. How about that? Puts things in perspective. And I know we're spending a lot of time with family and friends, so let's continue to show the compassion that makes Orlando a fantastic place it is by supporting your neighbors that are less fortunate. We have a couple of birthdays to celebrate. Commissioner Stewart has a belated birthday wish. He was November 27th, and Commissioner Ings is on Friday, December 13th. So why don't we sing them happy birthday? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear commissioners. Happy birthday to you.
That was kind of lame. Let's do it again.
I thought that was one of the better versions we've done.
Let's do it again. A little louder this time.
It's been kind of bad in the past. So I mentioned it's our final meeting. It's also Commissioner Ings' final city council meeting. So Commissioner Ings, on behalf of our city council and our residents, I thank you for your 13 years of service as a commissioner, and we wish you the best of luck in the future.
Thank you.
January 13th will be the swearing-in oath of office ceremony for Commissioner Ortiz, Commissioner Sheehan, newly elected District 6 Commissioner Bakari Burns, and myself, and that ceremony will be here in council chambers. I know we have a few Tigers and Eagles in the house, and Jones and Edgewater will be playing for state championships. Apopka's also playing for the state championship in their divisions or their classifications, so that will be Saturday in Daytona. The Tigers face Miami Northwestern, and the Eagles play St. Thomas Aquinas. Both of those schools have been in a lot of state championship games. We're now accepting applications for our 2020 Mayor's City Academy, which is a 11-week program that everybody that has been through it has had a great experience. Go to orlando.gov/MCA for information. And then I just want to mention a couple items of note on the consent agenda. Families Parks and Rec are doing a lot of great things, and a couple of them that they are doing in conjunction with the National League of Cities and the U.S. Tennis Association. They're expanding our after-school tennis program, and we'll be expanding from the Tennis Center and Jackson Center to Englewood Neighborhood Center in Commissioner Ortiz's district. We're partnering again with the Rep for their Rockin' Rep Rec Fest at 4 of our community centers, and the capstone will be a showcase performance set for April. And then finally, the Orlando Ballet Steps program will allow students in our after-school programs at Dover Shores, Rosemont, Northwest, and Colonial Town to take part in the Orlando Ballet's introductory program at no cost, and they'll have a final performance at the brand new Harriet's Orlando Ballet Center. With that, we will move on to the consent agenda, which is a number of items that are acted upon through a single vote of council. We give each of our council members an opportunity to comment on items on the consent agenda and update you with important happenings from their districts. We rotate the order we do that, and today Commissioner Stewart's first up.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the recognition of Sam. Sam, congratulations on 13 great years. Thank you. And look forward to seeing you out and about in the community. I had an opportunity to serve on the canvassing board, and I want to give a special shout out to Denise Aldridge and all of her staff for a wonderfully run election. Congratulations on that. I've now served on 3 or 4, and this was clearly the smoothest. Congratulations to you, Lori, Ridge, and all the ones that were involved in what's going on. Let's give them a round of applause for a great election. A couple of things coming up. The first is Edgewater and Jones playing this weekend. And just as a reminder, I shared with Commissioner Hill that Edgewater actually beat Jones, so I don't want to hear any messing around with, no matter how good they are, Edgewater actually beat you, so let's just lay off a little bit. So it's really kind of neat having 3 schools in the state championship, and it's Edgewater plays at 7 o'clock, I think, on Saturday, and Jones plays at noon. So over in Daytona Beach. So if you get a chance to go over there, please go over there. In addition to that, there'll be a lot of conflicts happening this weekend. Seems like the time between Thanksgiving and Christmas this year just is very, very short. So the Winter Spark is in Baldwin Park this Saturday night. So I have an opportunity to see Mr. and Mrs. Santa Claus. And it'll start at 4, and the parade will start at 7 o'clock. Holiday on the Drive in College Park is this week. I just lost my microphone. There you go. Is this Thursday night. It's 5 o'clock. Please come down and get a chance to enjoy that. Those of you who go up and down Edgewater Drive know that the Edgewater Drive will be closed Friday on Thursday evening. I want to mention something I don't normally get a chance to talk about, and that is some of you have seen the news. There's a major shift in I-4 and traffic coming from the north or coming from the east, and it affects coming down in downtown Orlando. Our traffic staff has worked very hard in trying to make sure that it's as smooth as possible. So it's not going to be ideal. We all know that. But it's going to be as smooth as we possibly can do it, and it will get better very quickly. It's about a 9-month shift, I think. Is that right, Billy? About a 9-month shift until they build the new exit ramp for Colonial Drive. So you're coming down now through Orange Avenue, and when you get to Orange Avenue, be careful. There's a lot of resources available. We say this often, but over on for the interstate, I-4 Beyond, that's I as interstate 4beyond.com. Get a chance to see these shift, and you can actually get information from them. The other thing I want to mention, because we will have a next meeting will be afterwards, is that we're having an update for the Lake Orlando and Rosemont community about our gymnasium up there. We're going to give an update on January 7th. Please look for information on my website about those details, but we're going to just give a quick update about where we stand. Looks like we're going to break ground sometime in March or April. Looks like it could be open by the end of 2020. And I can't believe I'm saying the words 2020. I just never thought I'd ever say those words in terms of that. On the agenda, Mayor, I've talked with our staff and have been very happy with the answers that we've got. I appreciate their work in doing that, and appreciate the work they've done for this last decade. We've got a wonderful staff. They have been a great asset to us, and I want to just say thank you to them for the work that they do. So, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Sheehan.
Thank you, Mayor. And something sad. My elderly neighbor died this morning as I was coming in, and OPD and code enforcement were there, and the fire department. And I just want to thank you all for handling people with dignity, because he had died a couple days ago, and we hadn't seen him, and one of the neighbors called. And I just want to thank you, because I know sometimes you all have tough days, and I just want to thank you on behalf of my neighbor for handling his last situation and leaving his home with dignity. So thank you very much for that. I also want to thank Thomas Chapman and the DDB. Lake Eola Park is absolutely stunning. It's been a long time coming. Chris Wallace started this when we stopped decorating for Christmas, and we had radio people coming out, and people were volunteering to put decorations out. And Thomas, they are just absolutely stunning. I was out over the weekend, and families were taking pictures with all the lovely decorations, and we've really created a destination. So thank you for your commitment to making Lake Eola Park even more beautiful and providing funding for the things like the Christmas tree. And just thank you, Thomas, and the DDB for providing that, because we've not had a lot of support, and y'all have provided that, and I just want to say thank you for that, because it's really stunning. On the agenda today also is the Curry Ford Vision Plan. With my other colleagues, we've been working on that, and some of the neighbors were concerned about uses they didn't want to see and want to find ways to encourage the kinds of uses that people wanted to see. So I want to thank Commissioner Ortiz and Commissioner Gray. We had to have some extra public meetings because unfortunately with social media there's some misinformation out there, but I think we've got it there now, gentlemen. So thank you for your partnership and working together to make Curry Ford the best that it can be. An item of concern that I have today is item K2, the Orange County non-discrimination and City of Orlando non-discrimination. They're trying to preempt our protections for LGBTQ citizens, preempted by state law, which I think is really wrong. Again, a preemption from the state level. We should be able to manage our communities and run our communities and support our citizens in a way that makes sense. And it's ridiculous that the state government thinks that they should have the right to preempt our ability to protect our citizens when that's what they really want. So again, I'm glad that we're fighting that and appreciate the legal department for doing that. And that's all I had, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Hill?
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. On the consent agenda, I would like for item C6, the MPB minutes for the DXV project to be removed from the consent agenda and be part of our regular agenda and placed with item number 2 under ordinances first read, which is also the DXV.
Okay, they relate to the same matter, so that would be
appropriate. They're related.
Okay,
So
there's no objection.
Thank you. And also, when we start talking about sensitivity, of course, unfortunately, we had a roof that collapsed there in the historic Paramore area on, I believe, Thursday. And I'd like to thank staff, our permitting department, our code enforcement department, and all those that was involved, Tim Johnson and Corey, Keith, and I forget Corey's, the other Corey's name that is in our geotech program department, but they were very sensitive when it came to making sure that the church wasn't demoed. They halt the construction part of pulling up the roof, and right now everything is in a planning stage so that we can preserve as much as the church as possible. And I'm really excited about that, and I just want to thank everyone for their efforts on being sensitive to the historic Paramore area and that 100-year-old church. So, Mayor, our staff is working diligently with the pastor and also to make sure that safety is our first priority, but also then the preservation of the church. And believe it or not, Commissioner Stewart, I went to Edgewater High School.
Well, you get to cheer for both.
Exactly, I get to cheer for both. So I was a student that transferred to Edgewater through Transfer B program. And then I got so much grief from my friends in Paramore till I had to transfer back to Jones High School.
Well,
just saying.
Edgewater and Jones both beat Boone. So just wanted to, Sam, just wanted you to know, Sam.
Yeah, I didn't say nothing. I was there. We beat them, though. I'm just saying.
And so, yes, also, this is historic here in the Central Florida region where 3 of our Central Florida teams, especially Orange County It's going to the state championship. We will have buses leaving Jones High School Saturday morning at 8:30. If you need tickets to be on board, because we're going to the ship, that's what we're calling it, and tickets are $30. And it will be a party with a purpose, let's just say that. But my office also, on November 16th, we partnered with the Orlando Magic and conducted our yearly Thanksgiving food giveaway at the Northwest Center, in which many of the Orlando Magic players were there to serve over 500 families. And I'd like to thank city staff and those that work at the Northwest Center. Those from the Orlando Magic said this was one of the smoothest processes that they had gone through when they did community outreach. And on 11/2, I hosted our annual District 5 Florida Blue Classic Leadership Reception. We had about 400 attendees there at Camping World Stadium. We were delighted to give community leadership awards to our very own, but now Orange County Administrator, Mr. Byron Brooks, Mr. Arthur Lee of Lee Wesley Levy Restaurants, Mr. Richard Black of Onyx Magazine, and Justin Kinsey of Lanier Parking and Lift Orlando for all the work that they do in the West Lakes District 5 area, from job creation, economic development, health and wellness, and just their community-driven affordable housing. So I call it not robbery to honor those folks for just being great community stakeholders and partners. And that evening, I'd like to state that over $60,000 was awarded to 7 HOA neighborhood associations in that area from Insomniac Cares, and Insomniac Cares is affiliated with the Electric Daisy Carnival. So we really appreciate the Electric Daisy Carnival coming to that West Lakes area and investing not just in the community, but into the people there in that area. Then on November the 25th, my office conducted the annual District 5 Thanksgiving food giveaway at Shiloh Baptist Church, and this cannot be done without the great partnership of Orlando City Soccer, Publix Groceries, Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church, again, Mr. Lee Wesley, and Levy Restaurants, and Second Harvest Food Bank. We were able to supply over 800 families from the Paramore area, the Carver Shores landings of Timberleaf, Metro Place, the Soldier to Scholars program, and the Jackson Court Seniors Oak Subdivision. So thank you again for another successful year where you see almost 1,200 to 1,300 families had foods that they prepared for their families, and which I believe is more than about food. It's about the memories that's shared in the kitchen and around these tables in our urban core. So family matters most, and I'd like to thank my partners for making sure that everyone had a great Thanksgiving. And of course, on 12/2, which was December the 2nd, it was an honor and a privilege to be with council there at Dr. Phillips Center as we swore in our new chief of Orlando Fire Department, Chief Barksdale. Again, welcome. We are so delighted to have a leader of your caliber and stature to help us lead this great city. And thank you to the firemen and your support of Chief Barksdale. It was a great decision, Mayor, great appointment. Thank you for your leadership. Then on 12/7, along with the Angel Tree Network, myself and Chaplain Jillian Hewitt, and the Fisher of Souls International, is a Christian outreach with my partner, Dr. Wendy Werlaw. She is a dentist there in the Stony Brook dental community. We had a Christmas giveaway, and I'd like to also thank the Orlando Fire Department. They were there on site, convening with the youth and the families. They were going inside the fire truck, and what I saw were excited little kids there in the urban core of that Northwest Mercer Drive corridor. And as I saw them go inside that fire truck, I said we were planting seeds of the next firewomen and firemen there in that minority neighborhood. So they did a fantastic job. And Chief Orlando Police Department was there with your K-9 squad. I think his name was Vice, K-9 Vice, or Officer Vice. Officer Vice was there, and it was great to see that Vice dog interact with the children and the families there. So it was great to see our public safety department representing our city of Orlando there at the Christmas giveaway. These were about 200 kids whose parents are incarcerated. So each and every year what we do is make sure that we receive letters from incarcerated parents and provide Christmas toys and bikes for those youth to let them know that they have not been forgotten, even though there's some separation there in their family or a break in that link. And also there was a great partnership between Second Harvest, which provided produce and fresh fruits and meats and pastries for those families, not just to receive toys and love, but they were able to go back here during the winter break and their cabinets be full, because that is a food vulnerable community. On another note, tomorrow we will be conducting our first Church Street District Expansion Community Meeting. Thank you to Pauline Eaton and Sherry Gulch for your leadership the last year and helping us create the 11th Main Street here in the city of Orlando, with extending the Church Street District now to the Paramore area. So we'll be engaging and getting input from the residents and business owners, and hopefully new business owners that will be coming to Paramore to continue to help us revitalize the area. And I think myself, the mayor, and other local, I hate to call them celebrities, other leaders in the area will be assisting the Salvation Army with bell ringing, I think, on the steps of City Hall, which with those funds, thousands of families throughout Central Florida will be receiving, I see it, yes sir, you remember, will be receiving toys for their children here throughout Central Florida with the proceeds that they will raise. And then on that evening, myself and Chief Rallone will be providing up to 200 plus kids with toys for the annual 43rd, is it the 45th year of OPD, providing toys and bikes, and we will, the officers will be serving dinner to the families there at the Callahan Center this year, I believe, there in Paramore. And then, as you know, the SCD is moving right along, and on December 21st, we'll be having our Cure Bowl, first played football, real American football, not football, there at Explorers Stadium, the soccer stadium. But prior to that, we will be having Christmas in Paramore. And what is Christmas in Paramore? Christmas in Paramore is a collaboration with the Orlando Sports Entertainment District and myself to host a Paramore holiday party where we will have live reindeers, real snow, Santa Claus, entertainment, complimentary food and drinks. We're expecting about 1,000 people out. We're going to invite everyone out to come to that area where it was the old Orlando Police Department, and now it's been leveled and raised, and we plan on the next 9 months to have community activities there. This event is free for all, so all are welcome, and then from there, many of them will go over to Explorers Stadium for the Cue Bowl. And I just also like to thank Commissioner Ings for his 13 and a half years here on council, but more so for his 43 years of service to the citizens here in the city of Orlando as a captain with OPD for 30 years. And you have been such a leader on the west side of Orlando, and I just want to personally, along with everyone, thank you for your service. And with that, that's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Ings.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to also welcome you, Chief Barksdale, to your first city council meeting here in the city of Orlando, and welcome to the city of Orlando as this new fire chief. So I know you're gonna do very well. You've got a lot of support from your local firefighters as well as your union. I see the union is sitting right next to you, so that's a good sign. And so congratulations on your first city council meeting, and much success to you, and much success to the Orlando Fire Department. I'll also, on the agenda today, item C14, the small business facade, site improvement and adaptive reuse program agreement between NCAC Business Trust and the City of Orlando at 725 South Goldwyn Avenue. I just want to say congratulations to Mr. former State Representative Alzo Reddick and Eloise Reddick. And I know Eloise and her daughter are here in the audience today, but much success on your project. And you're doing some great things in that area. You've developed the other area where Queen Bees used to be, and I want to say right now, you should bring back Queen Bees here in the city of Orlando, because that's some good food, and I enjoyed it very much. And then also item C18, final minor subdivision plat titled Republic Square Apartments. There at Universal in Carrier. This is going to be a great opportunity for that particular area. And of course, we've got Universal that has built their 2 hotels in that area on Universal. So this is really going to add a lot to workforce housing, especially for all of the theme parks and all of the businesses that are in that area. So this is going to be great. And also, I got this notice from Christopher P. McCullion. It says OBFS personnel update. Oh, yeah. And Deputy CFO Brian Battles has accepted an exciting opportunity in the private sector with a respected local company. Brian's last day with the city of Orlando will be January 3rd, 2020. So I want to congratulate Brian Battles on his new venture as well, and thank you, Brian, for all of the great work that you've done over the last 13 years with the city of Orlando. And then on Tuesday, November 26, 10 a.m. at Orlando City Hall, Barbados Official Day at the City of Orlando. And this was a flag-raising ceremony that was done by Barbados Consul General Neville Greenwich, and also Reginald McGill was there assisting, as well as Luis Martinez Alicia. I want to thank you guys so very much for your help and assistance on that day. We raised their flag, the Barbados flag, here in the city of Orlando. Their Independence Day was November 30th of this year, and so they were pre-celebrating, and they wanted to raise the flag here in Orlando and also in Miami, where their council office is located. So congratulations on that. And then on December 1st, standing ovation, A Magical Christmas, a standing ovation talent group production with Terry Burns was held at the Dr. Phillips Center for the Performing Arts. And I have been a supporter of Terry Burns and the standing ovation talent group ever since being commissioner, because they're doing some great things with our young people, boys, girls, and it's all about the arts, it's all about dance, and grades really are performing sky high in the classrooms, and that helps to make a great difference in our community. So again, congratulations, Terry Burns. Then also on this past Saturday, December 7th, the Rathman Club had their annual Seniors Christmas celebration, and this was held at the El Claudia Allen Center in Orlando, Florida. Arthur Jarvis is the president of the Rathman Club. The Rathman Club are retired Air Force, Marines, Army, and Navy Armed Services members. They are African American, and they do great things in our community, and especially for providing scholarships for Valencia College students. Each year they hold a banquet for that and raise funds to help those students. And many of the students actually come back to the Rathman Club during their banquets to say thank you and to give some progress as to their academic future and plans. So again, congratulations, Mr. Arthur Jarvis. And then on Friday, November 29th, I held my 10th annual District 6 Seniors Thanksgiving Concert at El Bethel Temple of Jesus in Orlando, 3000 Bruton Boulevard. The featured artist was Luther Barnes and the Sunset Jubilaires, and other guest artists were The Faithful Few, The Creightons, Apostle O'Meal Reed, TJ Bristol and POP, CMT Band, Maya Jack, Commissioner Stewart, who's in your office. She also performed at that event, and she did an outstanding job. So you have an artist there in your office that you didn't even know about. But thanks to Commissioner Ings, he was highlighting her for you. So, and the Truth by Fire praise team was there in attendance. We had a wonderful time. Lots of seniors were really blessed. As a result, even their families. And then I have a upcoming event this Saturday, December 14th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., starting from the Dr. James R. Smith Center, is my 10th annual Washington Shores Christmas Parade and celebration in the park. We will start at Dr. James R. Smith Center and end at Dr. I. Sylvester Hankins Park there in the Washington Shores area. So we'll have a lot of food, fun, and toys to give away for the children. And we're asking everybody to come and attend and be a part. And I would say this to you, Chief Barksdale, it would be nice if you can have a fire engine in there and you can be there on that engine or on that truck and waving at the people. And of course, Chief Rolon, you're also welcome to attend that parade as well, just to show the people that who you are in our community. That would be great. And then on Saturday, December 21st, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., I will hold my annual Holden Heights annual Christmas celebration. And that will be at Grand Avenue Park at Grand Avenue and Paramore. And so we're looking for the same opportunity, but this is for those children that are in that South Paramore area, and that we're going to bless them with some food, some toys, and just some great fun. Well, it's almost like I'm sounding off. But my last day as a sitting commissioner for the city of Orlando is January 12th, 2020. And this has been, however, the first year anniversary that my father passed away. He passed away January 12th, 2019. And so my last day in office is the day that I celebrate the death of my father. And I am just so proud of him because he was the first black police officer that rode with a white police officer. I believe this was in 1968. He was also the first black police officer that was appointed detective with the Orlando Police Department. And even though I served 30 years with the Orlando Police Department, 2.5 of those years prior to 30, I was a police cadet. And I worked undercover even as a police cadet. And I was able to even come up with a wiretap for illegal gambling in the city of Orlando that reached all the way up to Philadelphia. So we've done some great things for the city. I am very pleased. And I am very pleased with how the Lord has really blessed me to be here and to be a part of the city of Orlando, and how the Lord has really blessed me to be able to reach out and help others and to help move and guide this council. So I am really blessed. So it was and it is a pleasure and an honor to have served you, the city of Orlando. May God bless you and may He keep you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Gray.
That's going to be a tough one to follow up, so I'll do my best. A couple announcements, really thanks to folks. On November 15th, attended the After School All-Stars Kids Classic Golf Tournament. It's a great event, and the folks put a lot of effort to make it fun, so it's a great fundraising event, but congrats to our staff for putting that together, After School All-Stars. On the 21st, attended a fundraising breakfast for the Legal Aid Society. Now look, when you go to the Amway Center, floor of the Amway Center, and it's full of attorneys, you usually get a little scary. I do, at least. But it's a charity I think is worthy of your consideration. A lot of lawyers doing a lot of good pro bono work for folks that can't afford legal representation. So I mentioned that. Put that on your list of holiday contributions to the Legal Aid Society. On 11/26, we did our annual Citrus Square Turkey Giveaway at Citrus Square. Thanks to the folks at Orlando Health, Lee Wesley, and CiCi's Pizza for providing turkey, all of the fixings, entertainment while we're there. OFD was there, OPD was there, and Anna Cruz from OLA was there to provide some outreach. So thanks to that whole team for making some folks' Thanksgiving a little bit better. On December 3rd, I attended the Orlando Economic Partnership holiday party, and then the night after, Greater Orlando Aviation Authority. Before you think I need to go to rehab for going to all these holiday parties. I mention that because when you listen to the accomplishments of both our economic partnership efforts, as well as what we've been able to accomplish at the airport and continue to do, it just reinforces the fact those are two big groups that are driving the economic engine here in Central Florida, and so I'm grateful to be associated with those two groups. And then finally, this Saturday, if you're up at 5:30 in the morning and you have absolutely nothing to do, please come to the Target at John Young Parkway in the 417 for our annual Nabilo Foundation Kids Giveaway. The foundation raises money all year, and then they give each one of the kids a $100 gift card. And they turn them loose in Target, and they have chaperones there so the parents can't come in and tell them what to do. And it's great to watch, kids that are struggling a bit to be able to make their own selection. So that's this Saturday. If you'd like to come and watch, I will be there at 5:30. On the agenda, real quick, item B3 and 5, we're finally completing our second major park out in the Lake Nona area. Thanks to our team, the mayor, everyone for supporting that. Is something we needed for a long time, so I'm glad that those two parks will now be, one is open, the second one is going to be opening, and we're going to have kids playing soccer and baseball, et cetera, so that's a good thing, I believe. And also I want to mention B7, one of the items that is deferred from the MPB is a proposed annexation and for some apartments on Hoffner Ave. I want to thank our staff. They've been willing to listen to some concerns of the neighbors, and so we took a step back to explore and see if we can solve some of those concerns. So thanks to the team for kind of listening and just doing the due diligence and not rushing into anything. So thank you, and we'll deal with that next meeting. And finally, I want to give my kudos to Commissioner Ings. For 7 years I've been sitting here looking at you, and to say that you're long-winded might be the understatement of the decade. Because I sit here every meeting going, when is he going to finish? But Commissioner, we haven't always agreed, but through that time, you've always been fair-minded, willing to listen, respectful, and I think you've always represented yourself and the city quite well. So congratulations, and thank you for that, and best wishes. We'd love to see you back.
Thank you. And Mayor, if I may, please.
Sure.
I would like to say that Jim Gray is where he is today because of me.
The entire council yields our time to you. We want to hear this.
And I want to say that truly, when I was in office, Jim Gray was a business person that came in and lobbied me about something. And I just really knew that this was a great guy. And then, of course, when that position became available, I said, Jim, you should run. And he did, and he got elected. So again, congratulations.
Thanks, Commissioner. And Commissioner Ortiz.
Those are tough acts to follow. Let me start by saying on November 26th, District 2 team and I had a successful delivery of 100, plus 100 turkeys to our residents. And instead of just having one location where everybody comes and pick up the turkeys, we have a list, we go house by house. And I tell you what, that's the most fulfilling experience you could ever have. Of course, people greet you with coffee and smiles and hugs, so nothing can beat that. I want to thank Mr. Arthur Lee and Orlando Food Services partners at the Amway Center. We're grateful for their generosity, making our Thanksgiving a real Thanksgiving. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to Mr. Mike Wilson in our Recreation Division for helping us secure a vehicle to deliver these turkeys, including the team. No, just kidding. On Monday, December 9th, we had a great time with Gateway Orlando, who had their Jazz and Wine Festival at Gateway Village. People, you're missing out. Those of you that were not there, you're really missing out. There's plenty of free food and drinks and everything, and it's just great to hang out with the people at District 2 and the businesses. They're awesome. The weather was just right, so for next year, just keep it in mind. I want to congratulate Gateway Orlando for the whole staff, the whole team, the president and the board for another successful event and allowing our community the opportunity to explore the cuisine in District 2. Friday, December 6th, we hosted District 2 first outdoor movie night at the Park of the Americas. Members of our community came together to enjoy the holiday classic Home Alone. I want to thank Fatima and volunteers of the Islamic Center of Orlando for joining us to provide hot dogs and hamburgers to our guests, as well as my District 2 team, Felipe, Megan, and Officer Sanchez for facilitating an awesome event. The weather was just perfect too. Saturday, December 7th, this past Saturday, I had the honor of joining Nathaniel's Hope and United Airlines for another United Fantasy flight to the North Pole with 65 special needs children. Nathaniel's Hope is a nonprofit dedicated to celebrating these amazing kids, and I'm glad I was able to experience the joy of Christmas with them. They take them out in an airplane. They take them all around the state, basically. They look for clouds, and once they get up there, they lower the temperature of the airplane, so they feel like they're getting to the North Pole, and they bring them back, and when they get to the gate, they have this big stage, looks just like Santa's home and Mrs. Santa. And of course, the two people portraying these roles, they're identical. If I didn't know any better, I would say they are Santa and his wife. So it was awesome. And more than anything else, seeing the faces of these kids, that's where the real joy comes about, seeing how, because one of the things they do is they ask them what kind of gift they want for Christmas. So they try to get those gifts. So when they see this gift and when they see Santa, when they see everybody and everybody is very joyfully celebrating, it's just something to really look at and enjoy. So I welcome you guys to donate also to Nathaniel's Hope, because it's a great institution that's doing great things for our community, especially for needy kids. On the agenda, I want to congratulate Kiddiverse, right? I got it right, because I said Kiddiverse the first time. It's Kiddiverse. They are recipients of our grant, of our Facade grant, and I'm really looking forward to your business in our district. It's going to be awesome. I also want to congratulate Curry 4 West moving forward. Commissioners, I think we're going to have a lot of fun with this particular Main Street. On D4, I want to thank Orlando Ballet for their partnership and contribution by their agreement with the city for the scholarship training for the Enrichment of Primary Students program. I know our children will definitely benefit from this opportunity. I'm really looking forward to that. Brian Battles, this took me by surprise. I had him at my office, and I was just commenting, saying that, you know what, I'm glad that you guys, because I asked him how many years he had in the city. I was not aware that he was leaving us. He said he had like 13. I said, oh, well, that's good, because that means for the next 4 years you'll continue guiding me and, helping me out and whatnot. And he gave me that smile. I did not know. Knucklehead kept it to himself. but it's okay. Congratulations anyhow. I wish you the best. He's a great man, and I'm really looking forward to see him succeed on whatever he does. Commissioner Ings, I'm not good with departures. And the sad thing is that I not only know you from being here at the council, we spent a lot of time in the Orlando Police Department, so we have some real history. Some of those stories you were talking about and the things we talked about back in the days and things we share, very special. I truly hate to see you go. Truly, truly do. I have really enjoyed serving the citizens of Orlando with you here at the council and also in the Orlando Police Department. And I wish you very many blessings. May the Lord keep guiding your steps, and I know you're going to be successful wherever you go. So thank you. Thank you for being a friend to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. May I?
Commissioner Ings, one more time.
I want to thank you, Commissioner Ortiz, for that, because Commissioner Ortiz used to work for me. When
He
I
made
was,
you too.
Who's my captain? He made me too.
I was his captain. You know who else I made? I made Mayor Jerry Demings. I was his first sergeant when he joined the police department. You know who else I made? Chief Orlando Rolon. So I am very thankful and happy, and if I may, move the consent agenda approval, if that's okay.
I'm not done.
After you're done.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Well, one last item. I just want to say to all our citizens and those that are here and those that are watching us and those who are not. The accomplishments of the city of Orlando in so many ways and the way we're recognized all over the world, it's not just because great city council and the great staff we have, it's also because of the participation of our citizens. It's because of the great synergy we have in the city of Orlando. It's because when tough times come about, we come together. We come together as a family. And we put our differences aside. And Mayor, I congratulate you because you have created great diversity and inclusion here. A team of people that come together to work different aspects that we have to deal with on an everyday basis. So here comes that time of the year when we're supposed to celebrate all these things. And I cannot be proud of being in a better place than Orlando, the epicenter of the world, with each and every one of you. And I want to thank our staff for being the way they are. I want to thank, because you guys make us, you guys really take us under your wings and make us what we are. I want to thank our commissioners and our mayor for being the things that we do, the things that we're dealing with, and we don't always agree, but we manage to maintain not only that the core of professionalism, but our friendship. And that's something that other cities and other places around the world need to look at and learn. I mean, we don't have to go that far. Let's look at Washington. But with that being said, I want to wish that the Lord bless each and every one of you with health, peace, and prosperity in these holidays and the rest of your lives. And thank you for being what you are, the city of Orlando. God bless you all. Thank you.
Move approval of the consent agenda.
Second. Motion by Commissioner Ings, second by Commissioner Ortiz. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the motion carries. And congratulations, Fire Union, Ron, on your contract. And I like seeing you guys sitting together there, Chief. Do we have any students here today? Nope. Okay, I guess that's right. Okay, then if there's no objection, I'm going to recess the city council meeting, convene the CRA meeting. We can handle the first two items, accepting meeting minutes from October 7th for the advisory board. Motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Sheehan. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Approving CRA meeting minutes from October 7th. Motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Sheehan. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. So we have more meeting minutes from October the 21st, the CRA. Motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Sheehan. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Okay, now we're on to items with substance. Thomas, number 4, Budget Amendment 2.
Thank you and good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. Item 4, as the mayor just stated, is approving the fiscal year 2018-2019 budget amendment 2. As part of its year-end cleanup, accounting is looking to consolidate all available funds that have not been previously allocated or that are necessary for debt service. This amendment would appropriate those funds for specific projects and purposes and recognizes unanticipated revenue in the amount of $22.474 million in specific projects. If there are no questions, staff is requesting approval of the Community Redevelopment Budget Amendment 2 and Budget Resolution 2, which amending the 2018-2019 CRA budget as stated in the resolution.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Sheehan. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Number 5, Thomas.
Number 5 is approving a downtown commercial and residential building improvement program funding agreement between the CRA and 120 East Robinson LLC for 120 East Robinson Street. You may recall that this program offers a 3-year interest-free deferred loan for facade and/or building stabilization improvements for existing buildings within the downtown CRA. 120 East Robinson LLC has applied for funding. This is a law office, and the funding would be used for new exterior doors and roof repair. The program provides for 50% of reimbursements of up to 50% of the project cost not to exceed $100,000. This applicant's capital investment for the proposed improvements is estimated at just over $68,640. Therefore, they will be eligible for funding assistance of up to $34,320. The Grant Review Committee has reviewed and recommends approval. And if there are no questions, staff is requesting approval of the Downtown Commercial and Residential Building Improvement Program funding agreement between the CRA and 120 East Robinson LLC for 120 East Robinson Street, Orlando, subject to review and approval of the City Attorney's Office and authorization for the Chairman of the CRA and Executive Director to execute such funding agreement.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Hill. Discussion among members. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Okay, number 6.
Number 6 is approving yet another downtown commercial and residential building improvement program funding agreement. This time, Garber Development LLC is applying for funding under the program for 610 North Orange Avenue, better known as the United Trophy building. The funding will be used for exterior windows, electrical repairs, painting, signage, plumbing, stucco, and stucco work. The applicant's capital investment for the proposed improvements is estimated at just over $187,300, and based upon that, the applicant is eligible for funding assistance of up to $93,667.50. Again, if there are no questions, the Grant Review Committee has convened on October 30th and recommended approval. So staff is requesting approval of the Downtown Commercial and Residential Building Improvement Program funding agreement between the CRA and Garber Development LLC for the property located at 610 North Orange Avenue, subject to review and approval of the City Attorney's Office and authorization for the Chairman of the CRA and Executive Director to execute such funding agreement.
Motion by Commissioner Stewart.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hill. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries.
All right, thank you. Item number 7 is approving an agreement between the city and the CRA related to the development of open spaces and plaza areas. This is a companion to consent agenda item C12, previously approved, and is pertinent to projects including the Creative Village Central Park improvements, design and construction of a small part of Chatham Avenue, Bob Carr Plaza improvements, Orange and Robinson Park improvements, as well as the Lake Eola master plan. Staff is requesting approval of the attached agreement between the city and the CRA, subject to the review and approval of the City Attorney's Office and authorization for the Chairman and the Executive Director to execute the agreement.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Sheehan. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Okay, and number 8.
And finally, number 8 is approving DTO Go initiative. Gotta go, you gotta go, guys. As you know, the Downtown Orlando Redevelopment Area Plan provides for the CRA to provide clean and safe programming and comprehensive downtown maintenance of the downtown CRA area. Due to lack of available public restroom facilities in the downtown area, both the CRA's ambassadors as well as the clean team have observed and dealt with complaints and consequences of lack of these facilities throughout the downtown area. This pilot program, which is to be 1 year in length, is to make public restrooms available to residents and visitors in the downtown area. The main objective of the pilot program is to give us an opportunity to investigate long-term solutions while providing immediate solutions. The 1 year pilot would deploy two-stall trailers and additional ADA compliant portable toilets in 2 locations for 6-month periods of time each. They're being used from on Sunday through Thursday from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. And in addition to that, on Fridays and Saturdays, 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. and then 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. in the morning. The locations and times may be altered based on feedback as we go through the pilot program. Upon deployment, each restroom would have a customized exterior and sign that features the dates and hours of operations and will be attended at all times by a full-time attendant. The overall cost of the program is just over $505,000. The CRA Advisory Board has recommended approval, and staff is requesting approval of the GTO Go Pilot Program and the contracts with United Site Services and Good Source Staffing Services, LLC, and authorization for the Chief Procurement Officer to execute such contracts, subject to review and approval of the City Attorney's Office.
Motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Sheehan. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Thomas, further business to come before the CRA?
No further business, but if I may, I'd like to add my voice to the chorus of those voices, saying farewell to the Commissioner. He was sworn here in my very first week on the job. I was appointed by the mayor 13 years ago today, and so his time here as a member of the CRA mirrors mine. I certainly appreciate the guidance and the support that you have provided. And Commissioner, personally, I wish all good things to you and yours moving forward. Please know that staff, it has not gone unnoticed by staff that you are a stickler for detail. And so because of that, 2 things. 1, you might pursue a career as a proofreader. And 2, you did miss one important date. You're always astute about the significant events doing within our community during various dates. For the month of December, we'll point out that on December 19th, all day long, is my birthday. Thank you, sir. That's it.
Thank you, Thomas. And without objection, we'll adjourn this CRA meeting and we will reconvene the City Council meeting. Move to new business. First item of new business is electing 2 mayors pro tem for 1-year terms beginning in January and ending in December of 2020. I will open the nominations for Mayor Pro Tem 1.
I move Commissioner Stewart for Mayor Pro Tem 1.
Motion and a second. If there's no objections, I will go ahead and close the nominations. And all in favor of Commissioner Stewart indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, you're elected. I will open the nominations for Mayor Pro Tem 2.
I'd like to nominate Commissioner Tony Ortiz.
Second.
Motion second. If there are no objections, I'll close the nominations for Mayor Pro Tem 2. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, and so you're elected as well, Commissioner Ortiz, Mayor Pro Tem 1 and Mayor Pro Tem 2. Congratulations. Okay, the next item of business is an appeal in regards to the Colonial Town Drainage Improvement Project, IFB 19-0107. The appellant is Prime Construction, and I'm going to have David Billingsley, our Chief Procurement Officer, give us an overview, and then we will hear from the appellant, and they'll each have 10 minutes. And if the firm that was awarded the business wants to speak, they'll be able to do that as well. David.
Okay, good afternoon, Mayor. Good afternoon, Commissioners. So as the Mayor mentioned, we're here in regard to the appeal by Prime Construction related to the Colonial Town Drainage Improvement Project. So this project includes drainage and stormwater improvements along Oregon Street from Fern Creek to Hampton Avenue. This project is the first of 4 phases to address localized flooding within the Colonial Town neighborhood. So this project in 2018 was previously bid. It was awarded to a contractor. Due to performance issues and the complexity of the work, the city and the contractor mutually agreed to terminate the contract due to performance and timing issue. So the termination of that 2018 contract necessitated a new solicitation for the project and a timing urgency to complete the project. So to that end, in March of 2019, the invitation for bid was issued. Upon opening, the Procurement and Contracts Division evaluated the responses. The MWBE office also evaluated and concurred with the recommended award to J. Maliver Construction Company. So upon the posting of that recommended action, a properly filed protest was received from Prime Construction. So that protest has moved through the process. It came to myself initially. It was denied. That decision was appealed to the Chief Financial Officer, who also denied the appeal, and thus Prime Construction appealed to City Council, which brings us here today. So there are 2 issues on appeal that relate to the MWBE requirements of the solicitation. Number 1, whether J. Maliver Construction complied with the city's MWBE ordinance or requirements under the bid document. And number 2, whether the city acted consistently in applying its MWBE requirements for construction projects. So now I'll turn it over to Allison Brackens, who will talk about these items in a little more detail.
Thank you, David. I'm Allison Brackens with the City Attorney's Office. I'm just going to highlight the 2 issues. The first one is whether J. Maliver Construction Company complied with the city's MWBE ordinance and the requirements under the bid documents. J. Maliver Construction Company did not meet the city's goals of 18% and 6% in construction subcontracting for this project. They did provide documentation to demonstrate their good faith effort to meet the goals. The MDE division manager did not make an official determination as to whether the good faith documentation provided by J. Maliver sufficiently complied with the city code. Prior to making the determination, the MDE division manager learned of a $2 million hazard mitigation grant that was being made available from FEMA due to Hurricane Irma that was impacting the future phasing of the city's overall Colonial Town project. This specific project for the Colonial Town drainage was the first phase of a 4-phase project to relieve flooding throughout the Colonial Town neighborhood. The city was at risk of losing an estimated $2 million in federal funding if the first phase of this project did not get started. City Code Chapter 57.27 states that the provisions of Articles 2 and 3 of this ordinance of Chapter 57 may be waived by the compliance official in any event or award of a contract of such a nature so as to render compliance with this ordinance unreasonable or impossible. The MBE division manager did concur with the award to J. Maliver based upon this city code section, as the potential loss of FEMA funding and the overall timing of the project made the compliance with goals of Chapter 57 unreasonable at that time. The second issue that's before you today is whether the city has acted consistently in applying our MBE requirements for construction projects. We would state that the city has consistently applied its program over the past 36 years and reviews each solicitation for compliance with the city's goals of 18% and 6% construction subcontracting. The requirements are set forth in the bid solicitations, further expound on the avenues available to the bidders when they do not meet the goals, but if they are able to sufficiently comply with the ordinance by providing good faith documentation. In this instance, again, due to the potential loss of funding and the need to move forward with an open project as expeditiously as possible, the MBE division manager provided the waiver as allowed under our city code, and the city moved forward with the lowest responsive and responsible bidder on the project. Today, the item that's before you, you have the discretion to deny the appeal, uphold the appeal by Prime Construction, or reject all bids and cancel the solicitation. City staff's recommended action is to deny the appeal and award to J. Maliver Construction Company in the accompanied new business companion item. At this time, I'll bring up Janera Coulter, our MBE division manager, for a few remaining comments.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners. Gennaro Coulter, MB Division Manager for the City of Orlando. Take up a few minutes of your time just to add on to what my colleagues have told you. So the MB Division did receive the package to review J. Malaver's compliance to the city's MB requirements. Their compliance consisted of two parts, and that was they had identified actual MB participation in naming subcontractors that would actually perform on the project, and that came to a little over 1%. The remaining, they submitted documentation, about 25 information points that needed to be verified of the effort that they had undergone to meet the city's requirement. Or in other words, they documented all of the efforts that they went through to achieve compliance, and except for the fact that they couldn't get MBs to actually agree to do so, they would have met compliance. That included such things as MBs saying they had too much work, they were at the end of the limit of their bond, so they couldn't take on any additional work. We were in the process, the division, in reviewing that information when we got the word about the urgency of the project, as Allison and David stated. At that point, we stopped doing everything. We stopped any review. I used the authority vested in me in Chapter 57, 57.27, waived the ordinance, and moved the packet forward to procurement so it could go on the council agenda for awarding to J. Malaver. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Prime Construction, and when the presentations are over, we will gladly answer any questions that you may have. I thank you for the opportunity to speak before you today.
Just does anybody have any questions before we go on? Commissioner Hill?
Yes, Mayor. I want to know, is there an opportunity, because right now it doesn't sit well with me that we're giving a $2 million contract to any entity, and I understand the urgency, but the other, I guess, bidder had 24%, and they can only find 1% in this whole city of minorities to award this contract to. Is there an opportunity, if we move forward, because of the urgency, that they can still increase their minority participation? I don't want to set precedent that we're going to start giving developers, what's the use of having a Chapter 57?
They can always add additional
That's my
participation.
question. I would like a commitment that they were.
I don't think we can have them make that commitment, but
Okay.
if they choose to, can add additional minority participation, but we can't require them to do that.
So as we move forward, are we gonna set precedent that developers can come in and just state that, listen, I know you have a Chapter 57 program where we need at least 18% or 6% minorities, and then they give us 1% and we start approving it. I mean,
What Gennaro is saying though is, the staff is,
that he had
they
to
didn't
stop
go
it.
through the
They didn't go through
process
the process.
because we wanted to make sure we got the $2 million
that, but
grant.
we have to be more responsible, Mayor. It just doesn't sit well that we stop the process in midstream because of the urgency of the city and the FEMA monies. I get all of that. But it still, for me, is an issue that we only have 1% participation. Now, I know that they put fillers out there, so they say that's not verified. But if there were others that bidded on this project and was able to find 24 and 30% participation, and they can only find 1%, that's a little off-kill. But that's an issue for me. And I just do not want us to start setting precedent that when we have an urgency, that minority subcontractors suffer.
I can't think of another occasion where we've done that, but I think being in a position to acquire the federal funds does constitute an urgency. Commissioner Sheehan.
And Mayor, there's one thing that hasn't been brought up. This was bid previously, and the contractor could not do the work. We literally had a hole in the ground, and we were worried that the houses were going to fall into this hole. So we had to rebid the whole thing over again. That also helped create a sense of urgency because we had the first contractor could not do the work. So, Commissioner, I'm all about providing MWBE. We did it on the first one. The problem here is that we had an emergency, and I don't want to lose money because we,
I get that. I get that, but I do not believe that they can't find nothing but 1%. That's where I'm at, and I think they can find more than 1% in this whole big town.
I think that's probably right, Commissioner. Okay, thank you, Gennaro. All right, we will give 10 minutes to Prime Construction Group.
It's already loaded on the lead upstairs. Let's start from the beginning.
Perfect space button there. Yeah. Thanks, Allison. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Joe Dar, and I'm here on behalf of Prime Construction Group today. I was going to lead with what the question is that the council need to resolve today out the gate, but with Commissioner Hill's comments, I would like to point out that it is our position that this urgency with which we need to act seems to be based on an unclear premise in our mind, which is we have been asking for the last 6 weeks what is the exact deadline to obtain this FEMA funding, and we have yet to get that answer. So once we're done with our presentation, I think that might be a good question to ask is, what is the deadline to get this $2 million FEMA grant to the city to complete the project? And how does that really affect the ability to award this to one bidder or the other, one who has complied with the MB requirements and one who hasn't? So as to the original question that I was going to ask the council here, this is a rare bid protest that kind of raises a really interesting policy question is, does the city truly intend to want to encourage minority-owned and women-owned businesses to participate in city public works projects? Yes or no? If the answer is yes, which I think it is, this project needs to be awarded to Prime because they were the only bidder who met the MBE goals here and showed good faith efforts to do so. Otherwise, you're going to be communicating to at least the construction industry clients I represent and other construction industry bidders for City of Orlando projects that you don't really need to comply with the city's MWBE ordinance. And I understand that we already went through a lot of the background of what this project is about. As Ms. Brackens mentioned, this is the Colonial Town Drainage Improvements Project. The bids were opened on April 4th, 2019. On July 19th, 2019, there was a notice of intended action for the project. The recommended awardee was J. Malver Construction, and I'll refer to them as JMC for the remainder of my 8 minutes. JMC's bid came in right around $2.9 million. Prime's bid was $2,987,940, or only 3% higher than JMC's bid, only 3%. And that's important to note when we get into how we met the MBE requirements, but the low bidder basically made no effort to do so. Given the outcome that happened, we filed a bid protest that went to the Chief Procurement Officer. We went through an appeal from his decision to the Chief Financial Officer. Ultimately, we received a short one-page letter denying our protest, and we're here today. Basically, there are two simple reasons why our protest should be sustained in this case. One is JMC's bid was non-responsive because they didn't meet either of their options with the MWBE program, which is one, either meet the goals that are indicated, or if you can't do that, two, you have to show good faith efforts to try to get the W and MBE bids that you need. The second reason that this bid protest should be sustained is because in the past, we did basically what JMC did, and we lost a project because we were the low bidder, but we didn't meet the MBE goals. So now, it seems as though the city is flip-flopping its position, and we're not getting this project where we did meet the goals. As you guys know, under the MBE Ordinance 57-118, we're required to try to comply with the MWBE goals. And the most interesting thing here is the second bullet point there, which basically says that If you can't achieve the goals, you've got to show good faith effort to meet those goals. And this is the important language. If you don't make the good faith efforts to meet those goals, quote, then the contractor's bid shall be rejected as non-responsive. So there's no choice there. If you fail to meet the goals, the IFB also required evidence of good faith efforts to achieve the goals. Here we had an 18% MBE requirement, 6% WBE requirement. JMC's bid must be rejected because they didn't meet the goals. Their initial proposal had a 0.24% participation, not 24%, less than a percent. The city gave them a second chance after they were the low bidder to increase their participation. And they managed to muster together 0% MBE and 1.1% WBE participation. So they increased it by less than a percent. In contrast, Prime exceeded the goals with an 18.71% MBE participation and a 6.56% WE participation. So they failed to meet the goals, JMC. They had to show evidence of their good faith efforts to meet those goals. That's their next option. Out of the 12 quotes that JMC received, 8 of them were rejected because they could self-perform the work themselves for cheaper. JMC could. The other 2 quotes were rejected because they found a non-MBE subcontractor that could perform the work for a lower price. But these aren't sufficient reasons for rejecting the MBE quotes. If you look at the IFB, the language itself says right there in paragraph 2 and 4 there on the screen, the ability of a contractor to perform the work with its own force will not in and of itself excuse the failure to meet the goals. Similarly, down in 4, receipt of a lower quote from a non-MBE prior to or at the time of bid opening won't excuse you from the failure to meet the goals. So the IFB is pretty clear to us that being able to self-perform your work for cheaper or finding a non-MBE to do it for cheaper isn't a reason in and of itself to deny those bids that you receive. So this is an example of the good faith documentation that JMC provided. As you can see, it's just a sheet of paper with a 1-sentence handwritten note. And this one, it says the quote was rejected because JMC has received 3 dump trucks that we can operate at a lower price than this quote. Similarly, the next one, we're going to reject it because we'll use our own force to remove and install the brick pavers. Third one, similar. Due to small quantity in sod, we'll purchase it ourselves and install it with our own forces. Now, there are other ones attached to the bid protests we submitted to the City Council. We didn't cherry pick these. They all essentially have similar reasoning as to why they rejected the quotes that they received. So the first reason it has to be rejected is non-responsive because they didn't meet the goals and they didn't show good faith efforts to do so. The second reason is this flip-flop issue I was talking about earlier with the city's position with its MBE program. The City of Sweetwater case says basically, public authorities have wide discretion to award projects as they see fit, but the only limit on that is that you can't act arbitrarily when exercising your authority. Here in 2018, as I was referenced earlier, Prime did submit a bid where it was the low bidder for a job, but they were deemed non-responsive for failing to comply with the MWBE requirements. So they challenged it with the bid protest. Ultimately, the chief procurement officer rejected that bid protest and concluded that we were non-responsive. The reasoning was that our good faith efforts weren't substantiated for the 2018 project because 2 other bidders for the 2018 project met or exceeded the MBE goals. Prime submitted its bid for this project in reliance on the previous reasoning for rejecting its bid back in 2018. Basically, Prime had learned its lesson that the city, from that 2018 project, takes its MBE program seriously. So based on that past history, we submitted a new bid that met and exceeded the goals here. Now, despite the city to decline the award to us for the 2018 project for failing to meet the MBE goals, it appears that we're being penalized for doing what the city wanted the first time back in 2018. This is a sort of inconsistent application of the MBE requirements that's not only improper under Florida law, but it also makes it really difficult for construction contractors in particular to bid on projects because they don't know what the requirements really are. Do I need to submit a bid with full MBE participation or do I not? Which can affect the bid price that is submitted. Bottom line is here, if this appeal is denied and this project is not awarded to Prime, it's going to send a clear message to construction contractors in particular who bid on city project. As Commissioner Hill alluded to, it will be setting a precedent that essentially, don't worry about the MBE program, just get the low bid and get the job and figure it out from there. I don't think that's what the city intends, but that's what we're getting out of this. And I think that a lot of people, and our clients in particular, we do a lot of construction industry folks, that's how they're going to probably bid city projects from now on if this bid protest is denied. In closing, we're requesting that the bid should be rejected. JMC's is non-responsive and Prime should be awarded the project. And again, I turn back to the premise of the urgency with which this had to be awarded. One is, again, we don't really know when that FEMA funding expires. We still haven't gotten that date. And also, two is, even if that date was really an urgent matter where it had to be awarded quickly, this project could have just been as easily awarded to Prime, who did meet the MBE goals, for only 3% more than the low bidder. And the project would have been gone along, and we'd probably be halfway done by now. We have about 30 seconds left. If the council will allow it, I'd like Mr. Brackett, who is the president of Prime, to say a couple words.
Thank you, Joe. Good afternoon, Mayor Dyer and council members. Thank you for hearing us. We think this is very important to really understand the details of this bid. Commissioner Hill, as you said, there is a very strong precedent that is going to be set today, one way or the other. And I believe the city does intend to follow their ordinances. The argument that there was some $2 million at stake here really is not in play. This project was not solicited that way. We still do not have a deadline on that $2 million. And my company and my employees are ready to go build this job immediately. So thank you for your time. We sure appreciate your understanding and hearing us today.
Thank you. Does Jay Malver have a representative?
Mayor Dyer, Commissioners, my name is Alexander Severko. I represent J. Malver Construction Company. I have with me Kerry Molliver, the owner of J. Molliver Construction Company, and he is also a resident of the city of Orlando. First, I would like to note that Molliver Construction has had a long-lasting contracting partnership with the city of Orlando. They've done over several of these projects over several years, successfully completing many projects on time and within budget. 3 of those projects, very similar to this, are the Davis to Cherokee portion in District 4, the Cherokee to Lucerne section in District 4, and the Idaho Drainage Project in District 3. The project is a very complex project. As noted, the prior contractor attempted to start this work and then they abandoned it. Part of this project cuts in front of houses. Important because residents are going to be disturbed. If this is left open for a long period of time, those residents are blocked access to their houses. Why is that important? It's important because J. Molliver Construction performs on this approximately 90% of the work. They're going to self-perform it. Part of the work that is not going to be self-performed is the driveway pours, the concrete work, and that is currently done under Prime's bid by MIMS Construction. MIMS has the production rate of approximately 10 cubic yards a day of pouring capacity, whereas Molliver Construction's crews can pour 40 to 50. Better quickly getting these roads back up and closing them off. A lot of what was argued is whether or not Molliver Construction's met the requirements of the MBE program, and it did. They made a very good faith effort to obtain sufficient MBEs to do this work in this case. However, because they self-perform so much of the work, they are not able to, they did not get to that level. And then they considered MIMS, as I talked to you about. Interestingly, MIMS, Prime's bid, improperly splits that between MBE and WBE. If you look at the rules of which I've provided, 102.9, it says prime contractors may not claim as part of their participation both MBE credit and WBE credit for the same firm. When assigned dual certification, MWBE, the prime contractor, must assign one classification for the credit, the classification being either MBE or WBE. LMCC MIMS is both a woman-owned and minority-owned business. And if you look in the project, in the pamphlet I handed out, they attempt to split, Prime attempts to split $204,000 to the MBE and $169,000 to the WBE section. That's not proper. Second, I would bring to your attention C3 foam in precast. C3 foam in precast, and I've provided the about page, is a basically a stucco and architectural provider. They are not a precast concrete provider. What J. Molliver Construction attempted to reach out to them and get their bid and quote, and the response was, we never did a quote for this, and send us your bid and we'll provide you a number. The intent was that they were just going to pass through that and mark it up. One, that's not to the benefit of the taxpayers because it's an unnecessary markup. Second, it does not meet the manufacturing requirements of the City of Orlando's code, which requires that the company own and maintain the factory or establishment that produces on the premises the commodities identified in the MWBE application. C3 foam, which has been given a weight of $250,000 towards MBE, is not a manufacturer of those amounts. They were merely going to pass this through. So Prime's bid also does not meet the requirements of the MBE program or the DBE program. Finally, like I said, MIMS, this is a very complex project, and Molliver takes this very seriously. I've included in our packet one letter of recommendation that was sent to Commissioner Stewart on September 4th, 2019 with regards to the Ivanhoe improvements. That is from a resident out there. I've redacted the name so that we didn't have emails out but we do have, your office does have copies of this. And it is clear, it says that they work very hard. Mr. Molliver himself is keen to keep the trash picked up, and the members of the team are always so polite to all the neighbors. It is clear that the attention to detail is critical for the improvements to this well-established neighborhood, and this team is meeting the mark from a citizen standpoint. I have two other letters that I'll just briefly quote from from other residents, and this was from James Yannachi, and this was sent to Commissioner Stewart on September 9, 2009, and the quote I wanted to read to you is that J. Molliver team has done an amazing job, not only with the difficult work they are tasked with, but also their communication and engagement with our tight-knit group of neighbors. They took what they could have been a highly stressed time for us and did everything they could possibly do to minimize the impact of the project. Another one is from Ms. Donna Marks, and I'll quote a small portion on that. It said, I also wanted to compliment the contractor and workers from J. Molliver. They were extremely professional, courteous, and helpful every day during the project. They kept us informed about the project, timeline, and next steps. All questions were answered immediately, and any small issues were addressed as soon as I mentioned them. That's the kind of detail that is necessary to keep this project running, to keep these neighborhoods intact while they're ripping up the roads in front of them and replacing the bricks. That's the reason J. Molliver Construction sought to provide this with more of their own forces so that they could keep that momentum going and provide that level of detail. Finally, the one underlying item that has not been mentioned is that there was never a finding of good faith or bad faith, not good faith, in this evaluation. JMC has, in every prior project, performed at the highest level in inviting participation of MBEs. They've been working with the city for years. And there's not been a finding of good faith, or that they have not performed in good faith. And why that's important here is because there's constitutional underpinnings here. The MBE program cannot be a requirement, is what some people have said. It's required. Under the J.A. Croson versus City of Richmond case, that they cannot be a requirement, it can only be goals. And what I would say here is that there's not been a finding that they did not perform in good faith and try to meet these goals. And failure to do so would be a constitutional de facto requirement to perform under certain, to meet the MB requirements. Prime has not mentioned any constitutional challenge that they have to the way the city has implemented the program. Specifically, they have not mentioned any constitutional challenge to the good faith decision that would have to be made by the city in order to reject J. Molliver Construction's bid. And since that hasn't been made, we're not really at the level of determining that constitutional issue. But the further here is that there are constitutional issues that underline this, the outcome of this, appeal. So to reject this bid would in fact be a constitutional violation of, under the Equal Protection Clause of the United States Constitution. In closing, I would like to just say that, once again, J. Molliver has partnered with the city for several years now. They've met the requirements of the MBE program previously, and in this particular instance, due to the highly complex level of the scope of work and the need to finish it quickly, it was that they were going to self-perform as opposed to seek a lot of subcontractors. That's all I've got.
Your name again?
Alexander Severko.
All right, the way I kind of see this is no contractor has been certified as either meeting the goals or having made a good faith effort. So we as staff made a decision not to do that. So what we need to hear about is the $2 million and whether in fact that was an emergency that we needed to waive going through the process.
With regard to the FEMA funding decision, city staff acted upon the information and belief that they had at the time of the bid submittal. It's my understanding that our Public Works Department has been in contact with FEMA through phone call and discussions, and so FEMA is aware of this protest. It's very difficult to get anything in writing from FEMA, I will say that, but I know that they have begun to release, or they're ready to release some of the original design funds, a portion of the $2 million for the next phase. I think it's about $150,000. The only deadline date that I saw on that was that it was to be used by December 2020. Other than that, I don't have the specific date, but they are aware that this protest kind of stalled the project, and so they've been waiting and seeing how this plays out. But again, city staff, at the time that the bids came in and at the time of reviewing, acted on the information belief that they had at that time.
Okay, questions, comments? Commissioner Sheehan, Commissioner Ings?
Commissioner Ings, go first.
Yep, Commissioner Ings.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. In reference to the documentation of the good faith effort, and Gennaro, you're probably going to have to respond to this. Do you have that documentation?
Sure.
Can we see it?
Come to the podium, Gennaro.
Can we see it? Because I haven't seen anything about this documentation.
Sure,
And, you know,
yeah, I can provide you the documentation they submitted.
Well, if we can get it now, that would be great because we're in a hearing. But the thing is MWBE program, we've been dealing with this throughout the years since I've been here. And to have a company to present less than 1% of MWBE participation in a project is appalling to me. And especially when you have another company that has at least 24% of participation for MWBEs. So the goal there has been met. The other goal has not been met. And because they have not been met, then they become non-responsive to this particular bid. And there is no great difference between Malabar and Prime as far as the amount of funds for the bids. So it makes no sense to me that we can say to Prime that you don't get this and we reject you, when in fact Malabar has not proven and has not shown any good faith effort that they're going to be able to give a list of MWBE programs or companies an opportunity to be a part of this particular project?
There are several things that I need to say.
Please.
One is that the attorney, when he said that we don't have a set-aside program or a quota program, is absolutely right. That's against the law. And the law provides that a contractor has a right to provide information to demonstrate that he tried or she tried to meet the goal and couldn't. And that's what they did. We never got around to making a determination because of the urgency that was communicated to us, so we stopped, and I said that. We never looked at Prime because it wasn't referred to us. I mean, we never looked at Prime because it wasn't referred to us. So we never evaluated Prime, and we didn't finish evaluating J. Maliver because of the urgency to get the contract awarded. And I just want to make sure that everyone understands that a contractor by law has a right to demonstrate good faith through providing information that they tried and the reasons they didn't make it. That's a requirement in the law. That's something we have to do, and we have to consider that. We just can't look at because one contractor had 18% and another didn't and say, okay, that's it, you get it. That's not true. You have to consider that information.
And absolutely, and we are considering that information. That's why we're asking for it. At least that's why I'm asking for it, to see what this documentation is. If they say that they have provided a good faith effort, then show me.
But I'm not saying that they did. That's the information we tried to impart to you. We stopped reviewing.
But see, one thing I did hear in your presentation was that you were going through the process of trying to verify.
We were.
A lot of this stuff.
We were.
But then you got sidetracked and couldn't do it because the pressure was on. So that
the urgency was brought forward.
The urgency to get this $2 million.
You're right.
And when is that due? You know, from FEMA, that the funds, and I think I just heard you say is December 2020.
That's a proportion of it. The design costs that they would be reimbursing up to $150,000 of the $2 million. So they're paying for some design costs, and then construction phase 2 would be next. So the design portion, the date that I've seen is December 2020.
So what is the urgency that we lose this $2 million if we don't act now?
Right, well, that's where we are right now. So looking back in hindsight, I mean, where we were this summer, we acted on the information that we had at the time. And at that time, I'm not sure what those dates were, but they were in contact with our Public Works Department.
Yeah, see, I'm just perplexed, especially for a company to be able to say, well, here's the MWBE participation, and to put down 0.24%, and then come back with a 1.1% of participation that we could find. I can't really fathom and understand that. That's what makes it so difficult for me to understand. And when this urgency that we talk about, is this something that we manufactured, or is this something that's real?
No, sir, I do not believe that. I received a letter from Richard Howard, the Public Works Director, communicating that to me. I don't think it was what we manufactured. As Allison explained, it's very hard to get FEMA to put anything in writing. We were relying on the information that Richard had at the time, but I never considered that it was manufactured.
Okay, well, let's just take out the urgency and everything, and let's just look at the bids as they are. Let's just look at that, because the way in which I see it is that Malabar needs to be rejected, and it needs to be passed on to Prime, because...
But I can't tell you that.
Listen, I'm just talking.
Okay, but I can't tell you that.
I understand that. So, based upon all of this, as I look as far as the hearing is concerned, that Malabar hasn't done his part. And what's sitting there next, because you go from one bidder to the next bidder. Just like the first one that didn't meet. They started, but they didn't meet, that particular company.
There's no contractor that has gone through the process. We don't
Right.
have a finding
Right.
from Gennaro's office that anybody's complied.
Right. And we never looked at Prime. It wasn't sent to us. We didn't review Prime. It wasn't considered. Just as we were going through J. Malifer and stopped because of the urgency that we were told of, We were never asked to consider Prime. It wasn't forwarded to us. So I can't make any determination about Prime.
See, as I see it here, somewhere we've just really dropped the ball on this whole process. Because, as it come in to me and I'm looking at this, I see something totally different as far as this hearing is concerned.
But Prime was never forwarded to us to review. That's the process we go through every time. Procurement identifies a firm as the low bidder, and they pass that on to us for our review. We got Jay Malafer. I've explained what happened in that instance. We never scrutinized Prime. It was never forwarded to our office to look at. So it's just word of mouth what people are saying that they met it. We don't know that. We never reviewed it.
Well, it's up here in the documentation that we have. So you don't have this same documentation that we have?
We were never forwarded Prime's information. That's what the company sent to you.
So it's kind of hard to make a decision here.
Well, we basically have two decisions. Either we
Sure.
we go ahead and approve what staff did based on the information that they had in August, or we throw them all out and just start over. So, Rick, are you the one talking to FEMA?
Yes, sir.
Actually, yes, we're talking to FEMA, and we can't really get them to put anything in writing. So it's been pretty much word of mouth. They were getting a little impatient with us not being able to award the project. And now they're being patient because they know we're going through a protest. They know that we're going through these extra steps. So they've been a little bit more patient with us.
What's the 2020 piece? I mean, what's the urgency? It sounds like Allison just stated that now that we know a little bit more, it's December of 2020, and it's just $150,000 that they're gonna reimburse us. So
That's correct. And it's for design, and I think that is a product of them being patient. So they've extended that. They've never really given us a deadline. We didn't have a deadline that said you had to have this done by December of 2019. They just were asking us if we could get on with it.
I understand the urgency for the community in trying to repair issue over in District 4, but the urgency of now awarding a $2 million contract with 1% of participation, I'm almost in agreement with the possibility, and of course, I respectfully respect the Commissioner's District, but also have to advocate about this participation. And their attorney, I think it was kind of caustic when he started mentioning another contractor's work and their ability. I think that wasn't a call for to talk about another minority female contractor saying they're not capable, and then said he even ended saying because of the intense work on this project, no minority was capable but them. I have a problem with that.
Okay, let's hear from a couple other commissioners. Commissioner Stewart, Commissioner Sheehan, and then Commissioner Ortiz.
Let me ask a couple of quick questions, and I don't know who they ought to go to, but I guess I'll start with you, Gennaro. We never did an analysis of the good faith effort by Malavar. Is that correct?
We never finished it, right?
We never finished it. So therefore, we abandoned that process.
Yes.
Based upon, and made the decision based upon price alone.
That's based upon price and the urgency. They were the low bidder we were reviewing, and
I
the
understand.
urgency.
And our process, and as much as we would like to look at it differently, our process is that they have to supply information or supply a good faith effort, of which we would confirm.
Right.
And we did not go through that process.
That's
so we
correct.
just have to kind of now remove that out of the entire equation.
That's correct.
That's because we can't make statements that somebody met it and somebody didn't meet it because we don't know.
Yeah,
We
that's
just
what I
simply
was
don't
trying
know.
to communicate. You're absolutely right.
The second is that the information we've gotten from Prime here today, have you seen that information prior to
No, remember, we were never looking at that.
I understand. So my point is that this information we received today was never submitted to us for any other further evaluation because they
It
weren't
might have been
selected.
submitted with their bid, but we didn't get their bid to review because it wasn't in the queue.
Because it wasn't the, right. So you would review the lowest bidder to determine whether they would make the MBE.
That's correct.
So you have 3 bids that come in. The lowest bidder is out of compliance because of performance. And you go to the second bidder.
That's correct.
In the midst of the process of the second bidder, somebody says, hey, wait a second, we need to award this thing right away because we got $2 million on the hook.
Yes.
And we stopped the process to award it based upon price alone.
That's
Price and
yes,
performance,
that's
effectively.
correct.
Is that right, David? Okay. So all the comments we make today about MB and MWB don't matter.
That's
not, they weren't involved in this process because of the sense of urgency was determined. Whether we want that to be the case or not, I'm not trying to advocate either way. It just wasn't part of that process because of the sense of urgency that was determined.
That's correct.
Under a normal circumstance, we would have had 30 days or 45 days to evaluate a good faith effort. So when somebody says that 1% is it versus 18% or 24, 26%, those percentages don't matter.
That's
Is
correct.
that right? Because the 1% is really what somebody just put in, and we never evaluated a good faith effort.
You're
Is
absolutely
that correct?
right.
So now the question is, are we going to make the decision based upon the lowest bidder, lowest qualified bidder to do the job, or do we make some other step in this process? Is that a good evaluation of what it is?
And the rest of that is in your bailiwick, not mine.
I understand, but my point is that we can't even accept the information from Prime about we could not award to Prime because we could not determine, because we've not been able to determine, because we've not done any evaluation.
That's correct.
Whether they've actually met that
Correct.
determination or not.
That's correct.
So it seems to me we either award to Malaver or we throw the whole thing out and start again. I can't justify awarding to Prime based upon what they just tell us. Because the same thing could apply today, that we would allow Malaver to step up and say, okay, well, here's all my good faith effort, and it would have been 35%, but I didn't get the answers back. I mean, we can't allow either of those to impact our decision. Because the decision is based upon performance and price at this point.
I agree.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Gennaro, while you're there, have we ever waived one of these in this fashion?
Sure. If you think about the contracts that come to you just routinely, if it has less than...
No, I know we've done good faith effort, but have you ever not gone through the practice or the procedure of determining whether there was a good faith effort, whether it's less than 18 and 6?
Not that I'm aware of it during my
So
tenure.
Commissioner Hill, I don't think that we're necessarily setting a precedent. I think this is we may do this.
Well, I agree, it was extraordinary circumstances, but now I'm finding out, Mayor, since Allison spoke, it's not extraordinary.
Well, it may turn out that it's not. They thought it was.
Yeah, they thought, yeah.
But back to my point, we've not determined a good faith effort by Malaver.
That's correct. We stopped the process.
We stopped the process, okay. And we stopped the process to award.
That's correct.
Effectively, is that right?
That's correct.
So let me ask legal. So Allison, what would happen if we determined today that we would award to Malaver based upon the evaluation of their good faith effort? We've not done the good faith effort. We've stopped the process and awarded based upon price alone. What would happen if we just said, okay, we're going to award based upon good faith effort and put it back in the hands of Gennaro to determine whether it was a valid good faith effort?
I get that's a possibility that you would be denying the protest, but remanding back to staff for determination of a good faith effort.
Yeah, so the idea would be that they could come back to us 30 days later. He'd be given his 30 to 40, I shouldn't say that. Gennaro would be given 30 to 45 days to do the evaluation now.
To finalize, I don't know how long it would take.
And then would make a determination whether it was a valid good faith effort.
Yes, and then depending on that outcome, what the notice of intended action would be, there could be a further protest, but.
Another appeal based
Right,
upon the same
and
information.
through the administrative
I
process.
understand. I mean, the process would go forward, but at least we would have gone through what would be a fair evaluation of that. That's one
option available.
And I'm thinking out loud, I mean, I'm kind of thinking a little bit out loud with you in that process.
That's an option available.
Thank you, Mayor.
Commissioner Sheehan.
Well, y'all understand, I'm sure, when you have residents who are upset when their road isn't getting fixed and they're having to, I mean, this is not the first one I've had, okay? Especially on public works projects. I had one over on Richmond Street that was such a hot mess. I had folks that were walking on dirt and tracking in their houses for almost 2 years because the contractor couldn't get their act together. And I believe it was Maliver that saved the day on that one. So that's the thing. I mean, I want the work done. I want to make sure that we're helping people and minorities. And I think part of the problem that we've been having with getting minority contractors, a lot of them are doing the work on I-4. So there's not the availability that there usually is in terms of getting the work done. And it's kind of the problem that we've had. My frustration with this is I don't want the residents of Colonial Town to have to suffer because of politics and not getting their roads fixed. That's a huge frustration. At least they don't have a big hole, all right? At least we're not where we're with some of the other projects that I've had, where we've had open holes and sand and messes and everything like that. At least we learned from some of the other stuff and just made them fill the hole back up, and now we've rebid it. We want to figure out this process, that's fine, but I also want y'all to understand that I have to go back to my neighborhood where I live and tell these folks why we can't get our act together and get this job bid. So let's figure out some criteria, if y'all want the criteria, and I want a date certain, and I want to make sure that we don't lose the FEMA funding too over $100,000, all right? So if y'all can figure this out, that's fine, but you also have to understand that I got to go back to my neighborhood and tell them why we can't make a decision. So.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Quick question. Maliver was in the midst of being totally evaluated, but was not evaluated totally, and the contract has not been given to anybody yet.
That's correct.
So this protest or whatnot comes before even we're done with the process.
No, we stopped the process because of the urgency to award.
Okay. So, but now we have found out that there's not really an urgency to award. I just want to be clear about this because it's a little confusing. So do we or don't we have an urgency to award?
The urgency, I would defer to Rick Howard.
Okay.
I would say that we even have a greater urgency now, having been delayed so long.
Okay, all right. So that makes...
To get the work done.
Okay.
To get the work done,
Okay.
not the FEMA funding.
No, I think FEMA's been very patient with us, and they've extended whatever deadline that they had in mind. They're working with us.
So that's fine. That's fine. There's an urgency to get this work done because of the constituents are in need of this. Now, having said that, we're still, because we stopped the process, we have to now finish the process, and Maliver was the lowest bidder, but it's not fully in compliance with our requirements.
We don't know that.
Okay, so we don't know. So instead of all this bickering, why don't we just finish the process and see who does or who doesn't have, comply with the requirements, and then we, and of course, let's do this ASAP so we can go ahead and allocate this project to whoever so we can get it done, because Commissioner Sheehan is right. Constituents are getting tired of waiting. So that's it. That's what I have.
The issue with that, Commissioner Ortiz, this is really a conundrum, is we could go back through the process and that restarts the clock on doing an appeal and go through however long that takes.
True. So you're right.
And so the solution of awarding, if we do what Prime Construction wants to do, which is award to them to move forward, then you also run the risk of an appeal from Maliver. It seems to me,
Can I add just a little more information? may help answer some of these questions.
Or if somebody calls on you.
Okay, thank you.
otherwise-
Thank you.
But it seems to me that the clock is ticking either way, and we're at risk of losing the $2 million from.
Well, we don't know that either. We don't know that. The fact that we will not lose $2 million.
The answer is that we ought to make the decision as if we don't have it versus if we do have it. If we award to Malabar and go through let them go through the process to determine whether it's a good faith effort. If there was a good faith effort, then we would award to the next bidder. That's what seems to me that would be a logical choice. I don't know how to make that into a motion, but it seems that this would move this whole process forward. I do understand, Mayor, about starting the clock over again, but I think the clock's going to start no matter what we do.
So Rick, just your best thought process on FEMA. So if we just say we're gonna take the the low bid and go ahead and have Gennaro go through his process, and if it turns out that they're not compliant, go to the next low bid. That's going to take some time. Tell us what your best guesstimate of what FEMA's reaction is going to be to that. And we know what Commissioner Sheehan's constituents' reaction is going to be to that.
Yes, well, up until this time, FEMA's been very patient with us, so I would expect that they will work with us. And they've admitted as much as they'll keep the funding in place until we get this resolved. So I'm going to take them at their word and expect that they'll extend that for a few months.
Okay, y'all want to do that, Commissioner Gray?
I'd like to ask one question. Sir from Prime, what's on your mind?
Just real quick, so earlier I mentioned that the first time that they submitted the bid, JMC, Malabar, the participation rate was somewhere around 0.24%. And then basically the MB division came back and said, okay, can you do better? And that's where we got to the 1.1% that they came back with, JMC did. And through a public records request, we did see an email from Byron Razor to Gennaro saying that based on the additional documentation submitted during that second attempt, they were thinking that they should stick with the position of going with the third low bidder, which was us. So we're not the only one that's feeling a little suspect about the good faith efforts on JMC's part. That's all I wanted to add. Thank you.
Commissioner Gray still has the floor. Is that it, Commissioner Gray? Okay, Commissioner Ortiz, and I'll come to you.
One other question, because the gentleman from Malabar said something that stuck to my mind. They can do the process a lot faster. That was because of certain pouring, I don't know if it was cement or something. What's the, can you clarify that for me?
Yes,
There's an urgency to finish this project.
Mr. Malver.
Good evening, Mayor Dyer, Commissioner. Kerry Molliver, thank you for letting me speak. We turned in a 3-ring binder, 3 inches thick on good faith effort. We didn't turn in 3 pages of paper. We spent months doing good faith effort. I don't mean weeks. I mean, we spent 300 hours on that book, and we turned that book in. So I just want everybody to know it's not 3 pieces of paper. We take work in the city very serious. We work our time limits, our quality control, and we work with our residents very closely. And we've done so in Lucerne project, and we've done again in College Park. And we try to make all the residents happy, come in on time, and a painless trip to the dentist. And that's all I want to say.
Can you answer my question, please, in reference to the...
Oh, why can I perform faster?
Yes.
I put more resources on the project. A lot of times when I self-perform projects, I could perform on a Sunday on self-performance rather than waiting on a schedule. And when it comes to getting a wheelchair lady in or out, if I need to pour concrete on a Saturday, I do it. If I got to pour concrete on a Sunday and pour sidewalk and a driveway and pave a road, I open an asphalt plant up, I have a paving crew, I have a concrete crew, and I can get that wheelchair lady in.
The gentleman before mentioned some ratios about certain, you guys could pour, I don't know if it's 3 or 4.
We pour 4 times what some subcontractors can pour. And we've used subcontractors, and I'm not saying any names, but we've used minority contractors, and we've found that the city, we don't pick our timeframes. For these projects, the city says, you're awarded this job, you have this many days to do it. And you back your schedule into the job. We don't get to pick our days. Some engineer does. So really, it's about working with the residents.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Sheehan.
Well, and that's where it comes down to me is a performance criteria and the clear goals. So, I mean, if we're gonna delay this, I want my colleagues to please work with me on getting criteria, get this done, because I can't just wait around. You know, we're in a dry season right now, thank God, all right? I mean, I've got a serious problem over there that we're trying to fix, and I'm messing around with this stuff and nobody can make a decision. So again, I have a sense of urgency here. And Maliver has performed well, and they were the lowest bidder, and I want to get the work done. That's where I'm at. I understand everybody else's, I understand the goals, and I understand people being upset, but we bid it before, and it met all the criteria, and the contractor failed. So, can we? I got to put it out there. That's what happened. Now I want to get the work done. So if y'all will help, if y'all want to delay this, I want you to have the same sense of urgency I do. I know these aren't your constituents; they are mine. But I want to get this resolved as quickly as we can.
I just want to say, I am not upset. I'm not upset. What I am is an advocate for making sure that everybody's inclusive in this process. And that when there's government funds, that we got to make sure that these developers that's coming to get city contracts adhere to our goals. This guy said, and even stated that, you will be going against their constitutional rights, that these are goals and that we can't, what did he say? They're not requirements, they're only goals. Well, if we allow everybody to walk through this door and intimidate us with the Constitution saying that these are not requirements, only goals, we would never have proper participation. So, I understand about how we have to take care of our constituents, but in the process, the city does have ordinances that we all must remember to adhere to. I've heard that Maliver does excellent work. I'm not stating that they're not capable of performing in an expeditious manner, but we were under the guise. The reason this was expedited through because there was urgency, and now today they're telling us, I'm sorry, it's not as urgent as we thought now. So, I'm going to support the commissioner because these are her constituents she has to go back to. But I don't think that should continue down this dark, slippery slope where developers say, I can perform better than a subcontractor. Absolutely, that's why they're subs and not primes. But we should be in the process of developing. We should make it their responsibility to develop subcontractors underneath their purview. So, I get it. But I am not in support of continuing this. As the mayor stated, this is not precedent. This is something that we rarely do. I know that they're capable of doing this job. I remember when you had that issue over in Lake Davis and they came and took care of it. Yep. So I know they're capable, but Commissioner, it's inexcusable for them to come in here with 0.24% and then come back and say the best I could do is find another 2.6%. That's inexcusable. Inexcusable. So I know I can't force the mayor, as the mayor stated, legally, but can I call Mr. Maliver back up, if possible? Just as a great community stakeholder and great partner that you have been to the city, can you continue to look? I can't. Yeah.
Look. I'll tell you what, I'll turn my brick over to the minority labor like I did on Ivanhoe.
Yeah.
I'm happy to turn my brick over to the minority labor that I did on Ivanhoe. And that's exactly what I did on Ivanhoe. I'll give you that. I'll give you the sod, I'll give you the things. What I found out is what happens in these jobs is it's the people that if you don't build them right, the homeowners get so upset, and you can't afford to these people to get upset, because then they call the commissioners. You gotta take their trash can in, you gotta take it out, you gotta help them in, you gotta help them out. There's always a lady in a wheelchair.
So you're saying, but see, I don't.
I mean, it's about the people. I
It's
live in the
always about the
neighborhood.
people, but you're saying minorities can't be responsible.
I'm not saying about
Well, it
minorities.
sound like
They,
that's what
they
you're
can be
saying.
responsible. Yes, ma'am, they can be
Exactly.
responsible. But
We
when
have
I,
great minority contractors in this city, and that's certified.
and yes, ma'am,
So-
minority contractors, I have some ideas on some good issue, some good things to work about the
Okay,
minority
look
issues.
forward to working with
But
you.
I will definitely supply my brick, pick, and lay on the minority, and I will do that.
Oh, whatever you can find.
I will find you some.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, Commissioner.
Okay, Mayor, if I may
Commissioner Sheehan?
make a motion to deny the appeal. We'll see where we're at from there, okay? My
Okay,
motion is to
motion
deny the
is to
appeal.
deny the
Second.
appeal. Motion and a second. Further discussion related to that?
Quick
I had a
question.
question.
Commissioner said
Is there a motion to deny the appeal and make the award to Malibu?
Yes,
Okay. Is somebody seconded already?
yes.
Mayor? Sorry. This agenda item is to either uphold or deny the appeal. There's another item coming where
For the award, okay. Thank you.
So this is deny the appeal and recommend the award.
yes.
All right.
Okay, that's a motion. Commissioner Hill was a second.
But I had a question.
Okay, Commissioner Ains?
Thank you, Mayor. My question is this. Mr. Malabar, you talked about the documentation, and you submitted this documentation of good faith effort.
I did, Commissioner.
So who did you submit it to?
We submitted it when we submitted our bid.
It comes in with their.
It comes in with a bid
submitted.
package. And
Okay,
it was a
because-
3-ring binder. It was about that thick.
But you saw it, Gennaro, but you weren't able to verify it. Is that the point?
That's not true. We weren't able to finish it.
Okay, you weren't able to finish verifying.
Right, because we got the notice of the urgency. So we stopped reviewing it. But he's right, it was a 3-ring binder.
Okay, I think it's important that we do at least verify this stuff. Because what we're saying to the MWBE program, we don't care about you.
That's not.
We're not saying that.
That's
not
not
what
what
it
I
says.
see.
That's not what it
That's what I
says.
see.
That's not what it says.
And so, but our actions are speaking that way. Our actions are speaking that way, and that's why I want to caution us in making sure that this documentation be verified. If he submitted it, I think it's important that we verify the information before we vote either way. I think that's important, and it's important to our program, because Chapter 57 seems to be on trial here.
Mayor, I just want to make sure all of the commissioners understand, a contractor has a constitutional right to demonstrate good faith through providing the information. I want to make sure that everybody understands that.
But you verified. And then if you can't, from what I
Right.
understand is you also assist them with finding capable, is that correct or not? Yeah.
We can do that if the contractor allows it. Once they demonstrate the good, they submit their stuff. They don't have to submit anything else. He's indicated to you that he is willing.
Yeah,
I'll do it.
fine with that.
I'll do it. That's
Okay,
what you
there's a
want to do.
motion on the table to deny the appeal and recommend the award to Malibu. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed?
No.
Okay, passes 6-1. Next item of business is in fact the award for the Colonial Town drainage improvements to the recommended firm of J. Malibu Construction Company. Is there a motion on item 3? Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Stewart. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. No. Okay, 6-1. Okay, we are now on hearings number 1, Madam Clerk. Guess you don't actually have to read that one. Approving the Second Amendment to the Second Amended and Restated Development Order for Florida Hospital Orlando Development of Regional Impact, DRI Development Order. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there anyone from the public that would like to testify relating to this matter? Discussion among commissioners, hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Okay. Let's go to hearings, ordinances, second reading, number 1, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 2019-45, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending the Poitras East Plan Development Zoning District to increase the non-residential development program, amend the legal description, and amend the development plan, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's errors, permit disclaimer, and effective date.
Move to adopt.
Motion by Commissioner Gray, second by Commissioner Ortiz. Is there anyone from the public that would like to testify on this matter? Discussion among commissioners, hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Number 2.
Ordinance 2019-54, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending the city's adopted growth management plan to add approximately 36.3 acres of land generally located south of Columbia Street, west of South Orange Avenue, north of Pennsylvania Street, and east of the CSX Railroad to the boundaries of Sub-Area Policy 12.9.1, further amending the growth management plan to amend said property from the boundaries of Sub-Area Policy 12.9, providing for amendment of the city's growth management plan Sub-Area Policy maps, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's errors, and an effective date.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Hill. Is there anyone from the public that would like to testify related to this matter? Discussion among commissioners, hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Number 3.
Ordinance 2019-55, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending the city's adopted growth management plan to change the future land use map designation for approximately 5.26 acres of land generally located south of Lake Beauty, west of South Orange Avenue, north of Pennsylvania Street, and east of Cole Avenue, from office medium intensity in part and mixed-use corridor medium intensity in part to urban activity center, providing for amendment of the city's official future land use maps, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's errors, and an effective date.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Ings. Is there anyone from the public that would like to testify relating to this matter? Discussion among commissioners, hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Okay, number 4, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 2019-57, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending Lake Nona Plan Development Zoning District to remove approximately .58 acres of land generally located south of Laureate Boulevard, west of Nercousie Road, and north of the Poitras East Plan Development, providing for an amended legal description, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's error, permit disclaimer, and effective date.
Move to adopt. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Gray, second by Commissioner Ortiz. Is there anyone from the public that would like to testify? Discussion among commissioners, hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Number 5.
Ordinance 2019-59, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending and restating the Plan Development Zoning District for the Aquasol Plan Development generally located north of Vanguard Street, south of Oak Ridge Road, east of International Drive, and west of Florida Turnpike, comprised approximately 78 acres, changing the name of the plan development to the International Drive Resort Community Plan Development, amending the definition of commercial dwelling units for this plan development, amending the Plan Development District's development standards, development plan, and conditions of development, directing amendment of the official zoning map series, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's errors, permit disclaimer, and effective date.
Move to adopt.
Motion by Commissioner Ings, second by Commissioner Hill. Is there anyone that would like to testify? Discussion among commissioners, hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicates so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Okay, number 6.
Ordinance 2019-60, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, relating to bicycling and motorized scooters, substantially amending Chapter 10 Orlando City Code entitled Bicycles and Bicycle Paths to allow scooter sharing services and to revise the current bike share provisions to ensure consistency, providing legislative findings, definitions, penalties, and for severability, codification, correction of scrivener's errors, and effective date.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Ortiz, second by Commissioner Hill. Is there anyone that wants to talk about scooters? Commissioner Ortiz.
Thank you, Mayor. I was looking forward to this particular opportunity. Last time I made a comment about to speak to you over 10 miles an hour, and I read in a few newspapers, I really got slammed. But anyhow, I went to San Antonio for the National League of Cities convention, and I had the opportunity of riding on the scooters. And I tell you what, they have a magnificent program over there. We which I took pictures, I got pictures taken, I even videotaped myself on one of these scooters. And I tell you what, when I asked about being able to make these scooters go a little faster than 10 miles, I had the opportunity to experience why. If you're on a sidewalk, you can travel up around anywhere from 4 to 8 miles an hour, and they give you a chance to stop or whatnot. But if you're on a bike path or on the road competing with vehicles, being able to go faster than 10 miles an hour is definitely convenient. And I saw a lot of that in San Antonio. People on the road going a lot faster than 10 miles an hour. It was very safe. Something else I was able to see that I don't know if that's something we should consider is the scooters being stopped from working after 11 o'clock at night. Because, and the reason why they have it like that in San Antonio is because people are drinking or whatnot, you know, to avoid accidents. I thought it was pretty responsible. And you see the people that come over and pick up the scooters, they also offer incentive. They incentivize people by paying people. If you pick up the scooters and re-energize them, and you know, for them, they even pay people for doing that. The other thing I noticed is they had scooters with a seat. So even people, more mature people, can ride these scooters comfortably, and it was awesome. I wish I had brought the pictures because you guys would have been laughing, but you would really enjoy that. It was really neat. I think San Antonio was a great example of what this program is doing, and I think we should get in touch with them and learn more from them because their program is very successful. I also took a picture from the hotel. There was a bunch of scooters located in certain areas, and they were all standing up, very nice and neat. And of course, if there's areas where they don't want you through the GIS, whatever it is, they don't allow you to. But I'll tell you what, I saved money. I actually saved money going from A to B. I was able to do it in 2 or 3 minutes compared to having to walk, you know, almost a mile or whatnot. So something tells me it's going to be a good pilot program, and it's going to allow us to see the opportunities. This I noticed, scooters are utilized a lot more than bicycles, and that was pretty neat to see. So I just wanted to add that to our discussion. Thank you, Mayor.
So you're supportive?
I am totally supportive.
And the company that has the bigger wheels and the seats is one of the companies that's going to be
There's 3 companies. There's Lime, there's Bird, and there's Razor. And I believe it was Razor, the one that has the 3. And the difference was, one was a scooter, plain scooter. The other one is a scooter with a basket. And then the third one is a scooter with a seat and a basket. And they had the platform, it was wider, and it was pretty neat. What can I say? So I hope we can bring that over here too, so the one with the seats.
Okay. Any additional comments? Commissioner Stewart?
I'd like all your comments, and I appreciate them. I think the object of this is that we do have the ability to make adjustments and changes to this through Billy's work. Where did Billy go? He took out? Okay. But I think there's a definition, and the definition would be that a scooter with a seat is defined as something different than a scooter. Am I correct? Is somebody help me out with that? Okay. So the idea of a scooter with a seat falls under the 10 mile an hour because it can't go on a sidewalk. Is that correct?
That is true. That's correct.
Yeah. So the idea of the stand-up scooter at 10 miles an hour to go onto a maximum sidewalk is completely appropriate. But if somebody's going to sit on it, we actually could define that because it can't go on the sidewalk. It can go on the bike lane, and we can make that at whatever rate they want to make that at.
May I join in with it? I was just going to ask Tim here, because over there, scooters, when you first sign up for the application, it tells you that you're not supposed to ride on a sidewalk and you have to wear a helmet. Of course, nobody does that. But, and very in tune with what you're saying, I definitely believe that scooters in the sidewalks should not go faster than 10 miles an hour. That's a fact. But having the capability of, if you have to switch to the road and being able to increase, I don't think, even if you have the capability, if you're on a sidewalk, you won't be able to because of the pedestrians that are going. It's an average from 4 to 8 miles. So.
All right, good. I guess I was trying to find the definition here, but I was just trying to Make sure they are defined differently, and we can define their use differently.
Right, they are two different, and they are defined differently, and there's two different speeds. Yep.
Okay, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. All right, ordinances, first read, number 1.
Ordinance 2019-61, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending the city's adopted growth management plan to change the future land use map designation for 8 parcels of land within the Florida Hospital Health Village, DRI, generally located east of I-4, north of East Harvard Street, south of East King Street, and west of North Orange Avenue, and comprised of approximately 2.1 acres, providing for amendment of the city's official future land use maps, providing for severability, corrections, governor's errors, and an effective date.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Stewart, second by Commissioner Hill. Would anyone like to testify related to this matter? Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Okay, we pulled item C6 off of the consent agenda, and that's the meeting minutes approving actions of the MPB for the meeting of October 15th related to the DXV Central project. So it would be appropriate for us to take that item up before we take up the ordinance related to that. So item C6, without objection, is before us at this point. Commissioner Hill?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to recommend that we approve the MPB minutes for DXV Central Project and the first reading of the ordinance subjected to the following additional conditions. And that is that the building will be reduced from 17 stories to 15 stories, with the height of the 15th floor being no greater than 157 feet, and the overall height being no greater than 171 feet, which includes the rooftop of the building and elevator shafts.
Okay, that's your motion.
Yeah, that's the motion.
Becky, did you want to speak to that? Everybody's good, copacetic out there?
I'll go ahead and second it if it hadn't been
Okay.
second.
Motion and a second on the MPB minutes as proposed to be amended by Commissioner Hill. Discussion? All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Then, Madam Clerk, would you read the ordinance?
Ordinance 2019-64, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, rezoning certain land generally located west of North Division Avenue between Grove Park Drive and West Central Boulevard, and comprised of 0.94 acres of land, more or less, from Urban Activity Center with the traditional City and Paramore Heritage Overlay Districts to the Planned Development District with the traditional City and Paramore Heritage Overlay Districts, providing a development plan and special land development regulations of the Planned Development District, providing for severability, corrections, governor's errors, permit disclaimer, and an effective date.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Sheehan. Is there anyone that would like to testify? Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, so the motion carries. That is the conclusion of the formal agenda for today's City Council meeting.